What's up, Honesty with Comedy podcast listeners? This is your girl, Shantae. I think I'm gonna call myself SJC. I'm not sure. I gotta find like a cool, what was it, acronym? Initials or somebody. But anywho. But no. So this episode on this podcast, I'm gonna talk about like teen pregnancy. There's a lot of us out there that a little older than baby boomers, the Gen X's and Gen Z's and X Y's and whatnot, but that don't mean we still don't remember those days. Yeah, man. I think we kind of started. It's sad. We need to stop. It's funny though. I mean, well, it's not funny, but I see a lot of the kids that's having kids now these days. Actually, I'm pretty proud, I could say, because now they like in their 20s. Like just a few years ago, you know how many kids you've seen that was in their teens, like middle school, high school, that was having kids. It was concerning, not to be judgmental, but it's like, dang, we got babies having babies, and then wondering why there's so many parents in the club still, twerking and dropping like it's hot. Not that there's something wrong with that, but don't you got kids? Not even just kids. You got a newborn, don't you? Grandmas in their 20s, 30s now. But for the ones who actually do, even if you do have a child young, hey, I give you props for y'all actually like taking on business, standing on business, taking care of business. I've seen a few, young parents, but they be on it. They got few jobs, taking care of their kids and stuff. So I give them props. I always tell them like, you do such a great job. I notice like you be on it, for your kids, no matter how young you had your child. Sometimes it grows you up real quick, fast, and hurry. And sometimes it is what's necessary. Sometimes it's what ultimately what changes you for the best. So props up to the youngest who stand on their business, taking care of their responsibilities, But when I first got pregnant, at 15 and a half, and I had her at 16, I think that happened to me because I wasn't aware. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't out there early like that, having sexual intercourse early. I think my earliest was early enough. Yeah, like 14. That's a little early, ain't it? Yeah, that's true. I was one of them kids up there. But I was uneducated. And I was uninformed. I told you. We talked about these early on. I was one of those adolescents that was just a hot mess, going to jail early on. Like, that's crazy. Like, first of all, I think, I started going to jail around 14, and then got put in a group home in the psych ward once, and then started, having a relationship, and then relations, and then I was slightly abusive, and I mean that in the early relationship type of way, more so like aggressive type, I didn't know how to be a girl friend. I was like a tomboy and mad at the world. Like I talked about before, I was so frustrated, and especially with dudes, So that trickled down to being in a relationship early on and not really knowing how to navigate that relationship. And that's the thing, we get in relationships so young, we don't really know what example has we really had. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the last thing I really recall from a dude was my old daddy going gorilla style on the gate on the front door of our apartment in Chicago. beast mode, snatching it off like we don't have to live there or something. Like, we don't. Bro, you broke the door. We had to use a whole chair to lock it at night. You know how dangerous that is? Like, your baby mama had cheated on you and you had literally forgot you had 3 kids in our safety. But I'm just saying, other than that, it was no more stability. Now, she met my stepdad, whom she got married to and all, but, some stepdads like, look now, them your kids. And they big enough. Even though we were still young, we like, 8, 7, 6 years old. But he didn't have no biological kids, he did. But he was a good dude. And ultimately, after trying to run him away a few times, he didn't go. And he was snatching us up. So we had to just congratulate him. And he passed the test. And he was able to be with her. And then be a part of the family, Rest in peace, my Faja, 2021. But yeah, but I'm just saying, early on, that was it. That was what I knew, and then all of a sudden, 14 happened. Boom, first real relationship. Even though it only lasted about a good 6 months, but still. But then that's when you got curious for the wrong reasons. But still. But after that, it was on to the next, right? And then the next happened. And then that can of that Miller Lite, when you taste it for the first time at, 15 and a half, you don't know what that and that pizza, that combination was, yeah. It ultimately ended up giving me a positive test, I can tell you that much. And I didn't understand. And then, after finding out, and I found out because I had to go get, you have to go get immunizations when you start high school and stuff. When we first moved, we had to, get them immunizations and stuff. And I had to go get those. And all of a sudden, that's when I had found out. I had no clue. And she said, yeah, we can't give you, a certain shot or whatnot. And I said, well, why? And she's like, yeah, you're pregnant. I'm like, what's that mean? What you mean, sister? I had no clue. None. Yep. And it was, yeah, one of those ones. And then I had to go home. And then, that's the worst part, though, is because if you don't even really know, especially if your mama don't really know you out like that, then you got brothers on top of it. Bro. My brother, especially my oldest brother, he wasn't playing. If I wasn't nowhere to be found, he was coming looking. And he thought he was a ninja. So him twirling a broomstick and nunchucks around, yeah, no. I was a track star early on without being on the track. That sucker. Probably still doing it to be good. There, he thought he was a Power Ranger. But anyway. But yeah, so, Mama used to have him come looking for me. I'd be on one of them abandoned buildings somewhere. It wasn't an abandoned building, it's an abandoned apartment. But it was a nice, it was just empty. It wasn't occupied, okay? I was Sadiddy. Thank you. But anyway, I tell all my business. Hey, you gonna get wrong, okay? I can tell you that much. But still, so telling her after getting that paper, she's looking at it, reading out. I can remember it vividly. Reading that paper, like, why is saying that you can't get no shot? What's up? You would say that? Well, what checkbox is that? I don't even understand. Yeah. And then she kind of had a smirk. Like, well, what do that mean? What checkbox? Why? It said you can't get no shot for high school. Let me see. Let me read that. Then I had a note on top of that. Find out in part two what she said.